How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Rockruff, and welcome back to a brand new news video, guys. Today we're going to be taking a look at some Pokemon rumors, leaks, all that kind of stuff, and this stuff actually looks really interesting. So I'm going to kick things off with this post right here from Light. Shout out to Light, by the way, for compiling this. My boy even messaged me and said, hey, you should check this out. You should make a video on this because it's intriguing. And apparently somebody made a 3D model of a fire type Kalosian, so a Kalos one of Dubwool, which would be great, but sad that this is fake. Again, there is no guarantees it's fake. He just found this image, he shared it. I think this was from 4chan. I could be wrong. I think if we look at the, actually search the image with Google Lens, we might be able to find some of the other sources of where this was posted or not. But generally speaking, I think this showed up initially on 4chan, right? But basically, what is this? Well, it's a fire-type regional version of a Dubwool. Dubwool, you guys should know, it's a Pokemon introduced in Pokemon Sword and Shield, the 8th generation of Pokemon, which was the last one before, Scarlet and Violet. But yes, it's a Dubwool, and it's a fire-type. Now, does it look like an actual, regular Dubwool? Does it look different enough, you know what I mean? Like, if we take a look at a picture of actual Dubwool, and I think I covered this particular image in my most recent video, so some of you may have already seen me covering this and talking about this, but if we look at, like, a regular Dubwool here, right? The horns on a regular Dubwool look much smaller, right? Way smaller than this one right here. Also, regular Dubwool has these extra horns in the front here, which, as you can see on this one, we do not have. Now, I don't know if there's, like, differences between, like, a Dubwool that is male or female, with, like, the horns in the front or whatever. I don't know if there's much of a difference in regards to that, but I'm not going to get into it. Point is that this definitely is a new-looking Dubwool, right? It definitely has elements that are different, longer horns. You also see these spikes up here, like these orange spikes that kind of come from its back. That is different as well, which makes it look very interesting. So, what do we know about this? Well, according to somebody like, for example, Cardinal, which shout out to Cardinal, by the way, for just generally speaking, making great 3D art. He actually made a 3D art of one of the other things we're going to talk about in this video. But he says 99% fake, textures are flat, and the model mesh is weird and blocky. Looks like somebody grabbed the Dubwool mesh and changed the colors. The floor is very flat and boring. It has the same texture as the wall for some reason. Overall, 5 out of 10, boring and unconvincing. Fair enough. But it doesn't end there. This was the first one. And again, people have said this about stuff that ended up being real in the past too. For example, we had an actual leak for, if I remember correctly, I think it was, and again, I digress if I'm wrong here. Like, I will be honest. But if I remember correctly, we had a leak for Pawmi's evolution, so Pawmot and Pawmo. We actually had those leaked, or at least one of them was leaked ahead of time, and people were like, this looks fake. It just looks like a regular Pawmi standing up. Guess what? That's exactly what we got. And saying that this is lazy and stuff, it's just Pokemon's way of doing regional forms. Some of regional forms are just lazy. That's just the reality of it. Some of them just are not that interesting or do that much, in terms of difference. As for the actual, like, texturing on this, it doesn't look that bad. It doesn't look that, far away from, like, at least, like, watching and looking at it with the naked eye, it doesn't look that far from reality, at least to me. It just looks realistic and close enough to a Pokemon model that I would believe it. But again, I could be a total idiot, so who cares what I have to say? Either way, though, moving up, though, there is another image. A new potential PLZA leak seems fake, but let's wait for more. Now, this image is a bit more interesting in my opinion. This image features a few more things as well as this, text right here. So let's read the text first. He says, Part 1. The other images I received are Meganiumite and Menu Sprite for Mega Meganium. There is a ranch in Lumios where you can exchange the current terrain ride Pokemon. The person saw Go-Goat with Dubwool. Doesn't seem like there is anything new for Go-Goat. There's a problem with a water power plant with Mega Clawitzer. It's a water steel type and the battle is very hard. The person gave up for a bit and got mad, so that's up to where the images are. So basically that's where, like, this person's got images. Now, what does this image actually show? Well, let's take a look at it. Right now, this is actually fan art of what we're about to look at, but let's see if we can find the exact image we're referring to here. So first things first, we're going to open this image in a new tab and just have ourselves a little look-see. So this is the image we're talking about. It's essentially a picture of a few different things. First of all, we have the Dubwool again, but this is from a different perspective. So it's from a frontal view instead. As you guys can see, the Dubwool, you actually see it from the front instead, which again gives you a clearer image of what it's supposed to look like. It's an item description here, which maybe I should move my fat face away from the screen here so you guys can see what I'm talking about. There's basically a Meganiumite, evolution stone there, like a mega stone. You got that right on the side here. I don't know if the Japanese is correct or not. I think one person that might have a good inkling on that would probably be like somebody like Pokisutami, or somebody like that might have like might have some deeper insight on the actual Japanese being used here, which I would recommend checking out Pokisutami for that kind of stuff. And we will take a look at Pokisutami's posts about this, because I think she did translate some stuff. Like, I think she did actually go through and translate some information on her own, which I think would be worthwhile taking a look into, because she does have some interesting pointers, because she does speak Japanese, so she will know more that, for example, you and me might know that do not speak the language. However, we're gonna have to dive through those posts in a second. I want to go through everything first, because this might be a longer video just because of the amount of stuff I want to cover, because I've been gone for a week. I went on vacation, so I haven't seen everything. But basically, Mega Meganium, and then what you see right here is basically a Pokemon home sprite. Now, if you don't know what those are, these are like the little sprites you see in your menu, like the menu sprites, or the sprites you see when you open Pokemon Home. That's what this is supposed to be. Now, it looks close enough to be real, but also something about it, at least to me, feels a little bit off. Like, something about it feels a little bit strange and maybe a little bit away from the, reality, if that makes any sense. But here is the translation, as far as I'm aware, coming to us from, of course, Pokistami, saying Mega Meganium, translation, quick translation, explanation, title, new Pokemon ZA, a new leak on 4chan. The thread gives us random information, an image of a supposed regional double. A little later, more images, including a small sprite of a supposed Mega Meganium and an item description displayed for the Mega Meganium stone. The item description display is in Japanese. It says the following text, which is the text that we just looked at right here, right? Like, it was the text that's right in this corner right here. So here's what she says about it. There is no issue with this Japanese. There are no faults. It is all written in hiragana, but that is an option setting for the games. This text matches exactly the item description for Megastones used in the Japanese versions of the original X and Y. So the actual text used here, the, text we see here for this, like Megastone, is actual Japanese proper, right? It's proper Japanese. They say here, though, this text matches exactly with the Japanese original version of X and Y. I've attached a picture from my copy of Pokemon Y version as an example, but it was with the kanji setting. For the validity of this leak, I don't know. While the Japanese text is all correct, it is something that would have been pretty easy to find, copy, and alter. But as it stands, I cannot technically debunk it on the Japanese alone. If you want to see the images in this leak, just search on 4chan. But yes, interesting, because here again, Cardinal says definitely thinks they're fake, but it's good, a lot of effort went into it. Props to the creator. But again, we've seen very convincing fakes in the past, but we've also seen moments where people go like, oh, it's fake, and it ends up being real. That's why I like to talk about these. And these are like the most fun, quote unquote, leaks, because they actually do have that possibility of being real, because we actually get to physically see something which could end up being real in the end. But again, we just do not know. That's just the reality of it. The best way to know is if you see YouTube videos going down from YouTubers that cover this, then you probably will know. But also, there is a lot of like recent hints that have been coming out, specifically about these three being starters for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. If not these three, at least remove Chimchar and add in what would you call it? Litten. Add in Litten, and that's basically what the starters people think are going to be. Snivy, Totodile, Litten. That's the most, speculated ones. And the reason why is because right now, we had... Basically, Snivy got its own, special little shout-out from the Pokemon account. Literally, this tweet literally says, a shout-out to the Dapper Grass type. And then, of course, it also had, a special update inside of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet when it was added in the Unova DLC that came out, the Blueberry Academy DLC, which literally changed the text to something brand new, which had never been there before. And also, they tweeted out about it multiple times, here saying, basking in the glory of the Long King. They didn't really do these kinds of tweets for any of the previous Pokemon, but they're doing it now for Snivy, which is just random. It's super out there, you know what I mean? It's just... I don't know, man. Also here, Lights makes a comparison between the sprite of the Mega Meganium here and the actual sprites in Home, which says, actually, this could be real because the sprites of Mega Evolutions are already in Pokemon Home's update to Scarlet and Violet, but the box that Mega Meganium looks like Scarlet and Violet, but has the same pattern as Raging Bolt in the foot. Best long neck friends. But yeah, I don't know if that's necessarily true, but it is what it is. Either way, moving on, we have more to talk about. So here is another one of these posts. This one is interesting because this one seems to show a regional version of a Rockruff. Now, this image feels far more fake to me. Why? Because something about the glow, something about the way it glows here looks like something just propped, like literally a model shoved into Unreal Engine 5. And you just add in some, some ambient occlusion and shit, and, just add some lighting, and boom, you got this. this is like the thing that looks the fakest to me. Out of everything I've seen so far, this looks the fakest. But it's basically a Rockruff, a regional one possibly. I cannot really tell if it's supposed to be a regional one. But here's what's being said by our boy Light. Says, so seems leaking season is starting again. Kalosian Rockruff electric type. Take this with a grain of garnacle again. Probably fake. And here's what the post has to say. The actual person with the text here says, the person found a Rockruff in one of the power zones. It kept using a move that translates to Thunderbox. If you walk around if you walk around it, your whole team gets electrocuted, so you have to sneak around it or stay far away. The camera from Scarlet and Violet is back, but no selfie features. There was a Dragalge melting the steel, so Clawitzer got angry and attacked it. There was one Zygarde core in this area. He fainted about 4 times. Every time he fainted, it sent him back to the beginning of the lair, not the Pokemon Center. Interesting. That would actually be an intriguing change. And I guess it's supposed to be this location from the actual game. But yeah. Again, it's a weird situation right here. I'm not gonna lie. All this is all over the place. But let's move on to the next thing right here. So this is a bit of a post here from Light. Says this may be proof that PLZA is set in the future. I already mentioned that in X and Y there is a device that makes you become a Pokemon. In PLZA there is the Synchro laboratory, the Synchro machine. Right? You guys know this machine literally allows you to. I already talked about this at the beginning of Legends ZA at the early parts of March and whatchamacallit, in April. We talked about the Synchro machine that's in Scarlet and Violet's DLC. The Blueberry Academy. If you guys do not know, there's this machine which allows you to literally become the Pokemon and play as the Pokemon, any Pokemon in Scarlet and Violet specifically. So it's a really cool feature. You get to specifically use it in that like zone in the Blueberry Academy, and that's about it. But it's just a cool little detail. And the best part is that we seem to have these same logos from the Synchro machine actually show up in the map, both the future and past map of Pokémon Legends ZA. So there is a possibility this feature is coming back, and there is this guy back in X and Y who literally said he has a device that lets you become a Pokemon. Would anyone want to do that? Which is kind of crazy because it could possibly be a big feature of this game. He says in PLZA there seems to be a Synchro laboratory, so it would be I would like to be a fusion between Let's Go's feature from Scarlet and Violet and the Synchro Machine feature. And this way we could farm XP by ourselves being a Pokemon and more stuff. Love this idea. But again, we don't know if that's going to actually happen. There's also a new animation for the Poketunes. That's also out. It's been out for a bit now. So you got that. And then here we have the amazing artwork design here by Cardinal, who makes 3D models. And he made a 3D model of that, quote unquote, Mega Meganium. Which, by the way, if this is the model of it, I'm not sure if I'm the happiest with the outcome of it. If this is the design, not the model is that good because he 3D modeled it. But rather, if this is the design they go with, I don't know, Chief. I feel like it could be better. Nonetheless, though, we move on up a bit further, and he has another thingy right here. It says, these two images are an analysis of the music from Pokemon X and Y's Lumio City and the music from the only trailer we have of PLZA. As you can see in genres, the music from Lumio City and X and Y is categorized as orchestral or classical. However, the music from the trailer PLZA genres are electronic and synth pop future bass, right? Music styles that have been created after the other ones. We may have overlooked this detail, but this is undoubtedly a very big clue that PLZA could be set in the future, at least after X and Y, which is true. Keep in mind, if Legends Arceus is the game that's set in the past, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is the game set in the present, and then Pokemon Legends ZA is the game set in the future, it's the perfect trilogy of games all after each other in perfect synchronicity, one by one, to sort of tell the story of past, present, and future, because that's what's present in the present version of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. You have future Pokemon and past Pokemon. You have a literal freaking professor called Futuro, which literally means future, and Sada, Pasada, which means the past. Basically, like Scarlet and Violet is the game that kind of bridges the gap between the past and the future. So the actual past and future could be Legends Arceus, the past, and Legends ZA, the future, into one. I actually think it's a really cool way of looking at it, and I think this is a cool detail that could work. But again, it's just a small little thing that might not mean anything. Again, it's just all speculative, to be, to be frank with you. There's also a new trailer for the 4th arc of the Pokemon anime. This one is the Rayquaza arc that's coming out. So there's that. I'm not going to be showing too much of it because I don't want to get a copyright claim by ShowPro. But moving on, though. So here is the next thing that we've got, though, which is if the next 7-star is going to be Totodile, we have our starter roster from PLZA, as I speculated previously. Hopium family. Because, yes, we had Incineroar, we had Serperior, and now we should have for Alligator, and that could be the 3 starters. That's at least the theory that people have been running with. It's what a lot of people expect, but we'll have to wait and see. Next up, we have another one of these 3D model posts. Again, another one. This one, though, is coming to us again from, of course, our boy Light. And what does this one show? Well, if we close down all the other versions, here's what we have. We have 2, Mega Stones again in the top here, and what seems to be either a Drampa-looking Pokemon, something that looks a little bit like Drampa. I can't really tell exactly what it's meant to be, but it looks kind of like Drampa a little bit. And then 2 Mega Stones, and here's what it basically says. Another PLZ Leaks, as always, with a grain of, salt, but I could die for a Mega Arios and Mega Noivern, so that's at least what those stones are for. So he says, a Drampa pre-evolution, that would be sick. There is no breeding, but there are eggs in the game. There's also an old house in Lumios with an old couple. The man offers to teach you a strong move, and the wife offers to give you a rare gift after completing certain missions and activities. They say they are from an old family from Hoenn. The Drampa's pre-evolution hatched from the egg. It's still dragon normal, and the only move it has was baby doll eyes, which is dog shit, but okay. The source found Ariados and Noivern Mega Stones. Interesting, okay. Yes, the source is playing an early copy of the game. It is not finished, but it is able to be tested. There was a problem with one of the houses where you couldn't enter without the game freezing for a few seconds, which that's not a good indication if this is releasing early next year. That's not good info. But dude, Mega Arios and Mega Noivern, I'm gonna be real, that shit sounds goated. That actually sounds so good. Okay, that genuinely sounds so freaking good. Like, I would love that. But yes, a pre-evolution Drampa, as you can see, I kind of assumed that was what we were looking at, just because the colors matching with that. But man, this is not a good image to actually figure out what we're looking at. It's just blurry and just a mess. However, this is where Light says something that I think is very interesting. So, the image on the left here, this image is an actual leak. This was, and again, if you haven't been following this leak space and all this shit and these kind of videos like mine, if you haven't followed this kind of stuff in the past, then you might be a little bit out of the loop on this. You might not, you might not like understand what we're really talking about here. But this image right here was an actual leak by a guy. Oh God, I don't remember what his name was, but it was basically a leaker. He came out with a bunch of these images that leaked Pokemon Scarlet and Violet gameplay. One of the images was this one right here. This is of Pomot. I forget which one it is, but it's an evolution of Palmy, and we hadn't seen the evolution of Palmy just yet. Everybody assumed this was fake. Most people just thought this is BS, this is bullshit, until the leaker put out more and more images that ended up being real. So when you see this image of Dubwool, it should not be discounted. There is a massive possibility it could be real. And even Light here says, actually, 2 years ago, we could have said that both these pics were fake. In the test version, there's a bunch of text in the screen. Allegedly, it's so Nintendo can't catch leakers. When Scarlet and Violet was leaking, a lot of the early photos had this censorship, which is true. The exact same thing going on here. Same shit, same exact thing. Like blurring out aspects of the image to make sure it doesn't get like caught by Nintendo or who's leaking it. When Scarlet and Violet was leaking, a lot of the early photos had this censorship. I think this makes this leaker a lot more credible than most. A lot of leakers don't even remember this happened with Scarlet and Violet, which is true. Though, Cardinal says, the Palma looks far more real to me though. The background detail, the graphical fidelity just all looks much more accurate. Remember, it's a test game though, not the final version, but yeah, you're right also. But that's where I disagree with Cardinal and I agree with Light, that true, though you could say like Palma looks more detailed, honestly, to the naked eye, I can't tell. But of course, Cardinal knows better because he is an actual artist. He does do a lot of this. I mean, sure, you could argue the shadows on this one are far more detailed. You got better shadows and stuff like that. But overall, to the naked eye, they look relatively similar. Like, there's not a massive difference in quality between them. To the naked eye. Again, I'm not like a 3D artist. I mean, I do dabble a bit in 3D, but I'm not to the level of Cardinal, who genuinely makes 3D models, and I would take their word better than I would take my own on this. And according to them, it just doesn't look as good. However, like what Light said, though, is a good point to keep in mind. This does not need to be necessarily a final build. This could be an early build. This could be a mid-stage build of the game. This could be a version of the game that isn't the conclusive version. Because again, even with the Scarlet and Violet trailers, the stuff we saw ended up still being different by the end and even better looking or sometimes worse looking than the actual final game, and so on and so forth. So again, keep in mind, we've had genuine leaks like this in this same style of leaking we've had in the past. So it is very much possible this could be real. Either way, moving on, we have another one of these posts right here. This one is another potential leak. Onyx and Steelix are back with the Steelix-tite with some Oras Megas. The pre-evolution of Drampa seems it's called in Japanese Babylong, or Gigi Long is Drampa Gigi equals Old Man Long or Dragon. Later we'll do a recap of all the info I have. But yes, we have another image here of what seems to be the Drampa, again, as well as the Megastone, as well as this image right here, which just shows us one of the Pokemon's names. And then we have the recap. So here's what it is. For all my new followers, I'm not a leaker. I'm just posting this for your information. Happy to serve. All this information could be fake, so take it with a grain of salt. Megas. Clawitzer, Water Steel. Ariados, Noivern, Meganium, and Steelix. Steelix already has a Mega, so we know that one. The other ones, those are all new. Again, Meganium is the only one we've properly seen. We haven't seen any of the other three. Moving on. Regional forms. Dubwool, Fire type, probably 2, but not mentioned. Rockruff, Electric, probably 2, but not mentioned. So we've seen Rockruff and we've seen Dubwool, Fire, and Electric. Again, the Rockruff looks the most fake out of all of them to me. Skrelp line is in the game apparently. If you fall fainted, you will appear in the beginning of the instance, not in the Pokemon Center. That's like what the guy said, that if you die inside of a cave or a dungeon or whatever, you will not go back to a Pokemon Center. You'll just be at the beginning of the entrance, which is so good. Thank you. I don't want to go all the way back to the Pokemon Center for no reason. Thank you. A new move called Kinda Thunderbox. Seems Rockruff has this move, and it's like a stealth rock type of move. Drampa's pre-evolution, called in Japanese similar to Babylong, Dragon Normal. No selfie camera, but normal camera is in the game. There is a battle between a Mega Clawitzer and a Dragalge. Zygarde cores are in the game as well, which is pretty neat. No abilities are in the game. We will have mission and activities to get different rewards. No breeding system, but there are eggs, so probably will be a form like Scarlet Violet's method. I'll keep you updated, but if there are any new leaks. Enjoy, and thanks for the support. And those are the pictures that we had to talk about. Those kind of summarize those things, which again, I'd love to know you guys' thoughts and opinions. My educated guess on all this, if we go through like also Pokisutami's like translations of it all, which by the way, definitely check out Pokisutami for this kind of stuff. But if you go through like the translations, for example, here that they did for that she did for the Rockruff title part 3, a new Pokemon Rough. There is really only one Japanese word in this leak, and that's Rockruff Japanese name in the image. Rockruff Japanese name Iwanko. This name breaks down in 3 ways: Iwa meaning rock, a childish cute way of saying dog, akin to doggy, and child, which is like combined Iwanko, right? Now, if you look at the text of this supposed leak, it implies that Rockruff has electric typing, saying it was found in the Power Zone and has a move that translates to Thunderbox. That doesn't say what the Japanese is used. If this is meant to be a regional Pokemon, it would need to keep rock typing as well as adding the electric typing in order for its name to make sense. The Japanese name Iwanko would be nonsensical for a pure electric type Pokemon, dog Pokemon. But yeah, I'm pointing this being pretty certain no. So yeah, that's like a dead giveaway. If the name is still just Rockruff, right, like regular Rockruff, but it doesn't have a rock typing, it would be kind of counterproductive in a sense to have a name that literally says rock in it, but you don't have rock typing. So he doesn't mention here, he just says that, you know, apparently it's a regional version and that it's gonna have some form of, you know, like electric typing to it. That's about literally all we know. Also, I forgot to read this right here, but apparently, you know, did I go into this? I don't think I did. But basically, yeah, Kalos, Dubwool, Fire Steel, Mega Johto and Kalos starters for Alligator, Water Dragon, Meganium, Grass Fairy, and Typhlosion Fire. Returning characters. Okay, so we did not read this. This is a good one that we almost missed. But let's read what this says. So apparently, he says that there's going to be Mega Johto and Kalos starters. So that's interesting. For Alligator, Water Dragon, Meganium, Grass Fairy, and Typhlosion Fire. Returning characters, Looker and Geta. Looker helps you investigate power shortages in Lumio City, and Zygarde cells are consuming power. No past themes in the game. Lumio City is trying to redevelop after Lysander's actions in X and Y, but there are problems in Kalos causing Zygarde to scatter itself around Lumios. The more Zygarde cells you obtain, the more Lumios can redevelop, and more Pokemon start getting introduced into the city, which sounds like a pretty standard concept that we've heard from most other posts like this too. So, again, anything is possible, but I'm just intrigued, man. I just want to know if this is genuinely like real, or if this could be real, because it is an interesting post. Now, moving on to something a little bit different, we're going to take a look at something that again is a little bit out there. It's a little bit different from what we've been talking about, but it's about this right here. Apparently, Pokemon Unite, starting from October 31st of 2024 this year, is going to be removing in-game items, including AOS gems and subscriptions, and will no longer be able to be purchased or downloaded in the Netherlands and Belgium on mobile devices or Nintendo Switch. Basically, they are removing this game from people like myself. I live in Belgium. I'm not Belgian, but I live in Belgium. I will not be able to play this game anymore. I will have to use a VPN or something if I want to actually play the game, which gives you latency, and you guys know in a game like Unite, which is a competitive game, that's really shitty. And the reason they're doing this is because Belgium and the Netherlands, and I think France as well, I'm not sure if they're going to ban it in France. Maybe literally this is the only reason they're not, removing the game from France is because it has a bigger player base, probably more population. But the reason they're doing this is because in Belgium and the Netherlands, I think Netherlands too, I just know Belgium for sure, they have a law where you cannot have loot boxes in video games. If there are loot boxes, the game has to either remove it in that region, so they have to remove it in Belgium, I guess in Netherlands too, or they need to just ban the game. The game just cannot be available in this country. They're not be available in Belgium or in Netherlands. And this is to, reduce gambling addiction, which I get it. These games are really, preying on that. And guess what? The reason they're doing this, by the way, the actual reason they're doing this is not a noble reason, or it's not to blame the government, which to be fair, you can blame the government for a lot of stuff. The reason they're doing this is because they added in a loot box. They just added in a freaking loot box into the game. And now they're questioning, now they're like, oh shit, if we keep this loot box in, we cannot have the game available there. But yeah, we want to keep the loot box in. So instead of removing the loot box from the game, from those regions, they instead just decided, fuck it. Who cares about those players? Nobody gives a shit about them. Let's just ban, let's just ban the game there outright. Let's remove the game from there. Which is just, oh man, I don't know how to describe how freaking ridiculous that is. Because if people have spent money, I've spent money on this game. I bought a few skins, okay? Please, come on. You cannot just take the game away from me, even though I spent money on it. And it's not like Unite's been out forever. It's only been out for a few years, and they're already basically removing it, which is just ridiculous, okay? I'm going to be real with you guys. It is just insane to me. And I just wanted to talk about this a little bit because this is just one of those things where it makes me realize more and more that I don't want to play games like this. I just want to buy a game that has a story and whatever, and I want to play it from beginning to end, and I want to own that game, and that's it. I don't want shit like this anymore. It's just getting ridiculous. The fact that they're terminating the game, for what reason? So that they can sell loot boxes in other parts of the world. That's the only reason. It's just because they've added now a skin in the game that's basically literally impossible to get. It has such low odds of actually being achievable to get. And the only reason they can deal with that is, hey, we're just gonna, we're just simply gonna force you to have to get your hands on it, by spending a shit ton of money. So here, an example of that, right? Here is what they have. The Elegant Style Sylveon. It's basically only obtainable through chests, right? And chests are basically just loot boxes. So yeah, here is what it is. If you want to get your hands on that specific Sylveon, you have a 0.02% chance, and you got to pay for this shit too, right? You actually got to pay for it, which is ridiculous. This is just ridiculous, man. That's the thing, dude. They could have easily just removed this from this region. They could have just removed it, but no. That's too much work. It's easier just to remove the game fully from being accessible to people who've paid and spent money on it. It is beyond insane, and I genuinely hate it, but what can I do? I guess we're all just idiots for spending money on this shit. So that's pretty much where I'm going to end that. I'm not playing Unite anymore because I literally will not be able to unless I get a VPN to do it. But yeah, that's pretty much that. And shout out to El Chico even, by the way, for doing great data mining. But that's where that ends, guys. And I want to thank you all for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, of course, then drop a like down below because I'll be seeing you guys in the next video. Peace out, and let me know what you guys think about all those leaks and all those images in the comment section. Have a great day.